Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Dimaliani and today I'm going to tell you about critical discourse analysis, including the definition and types of approaches in CDA. The first one is about definition of CDA. CDA is critical discourse analysis. Critical, it's about double-edged question, and critical here means that in making meaning we have to be critical, considering the theory, practice, and reflection with a framework or a set of tools which help us penetrate to the core of domination in analyzing the effect of power in the text. And discourse is a language beyond a sentence or clause such as listening, speaking, touching, and all of the things that contain meaning. And all that happen in society, the function of the discourse is to analyze how a person uses the language and the use of that action language in society. For example, interviewing in a spoken discourse and newspaper articles in a written discourse. And analysis relates to the method and procedures that will be used in analyzing a text. In here, according to Flowerday 2013, CDA it is a transdisciplinary approach to discourse, drawing on social as well as linguistic theory. And then critical discourse analysis focus on problems in society and understanding every context that exists, including a text talk and semantic instruction. Because interaction in the community is very varied, so the use of CDA is very complex. If you are going to use the CDA concept, then you must have a background knowledge on all aspects before using the CDA itself. And the purpose of CDA is an explanation of how and why social practice are constructed, changed, and transformed in the ways that they are social justice. CDA is necessary for describing, interpreting, analyzing, and critiquing a social life reflected in the text. Alright guys, let's move to types of approaches in CDA. And there are 4 types of approaches in CDA. The first one is Van der model of CDA, and then the second one is Fairclough model of CDA, and then third one is Van Leeuwen's model of CDA, and then the last one is Ruth Wodak model of CDA. Alright, the first one is about Van der models of CDA. Then Van der is one of the leading figures and pioneers of study and research in the domain of CDA. He stated that CDA focuses on how a social group's mental representation is influenced by a social structure. In this occasion, the theme of a discussion may influence how people emphasize the important information in a text or talks. CDA is characterized as an interdisciplinary, multi-methodical approach rather than an isolated discipline on its own. CDA should have a historical, cultural, socio-economical, philosophical, logical, and naturological approaches as well. And the ultimate goal of critical discourse analysis is to help the deprived part of the society and the issues that threaten these people's life. In other words, CDA goes beyond here and now and attempts to study the roots of fundamental social problems. All the approaches to CDA have the notion of ideology, critique, and power in common. Ideology usually controls the thinking of social groups, which then represent the basic social characteristics of groups based on their identity, purpose, norms, values, position, and resources. The term critical in discourse has been addressed in multiple ways, which regard to the use of language and the reproduction of power in society. The critically is designed specifically to the issue of power, hegemony, and resistance in various fields of language. Hegemony, it means the influence of one person on another. With regard to ideological consumption, cognitive and social factors are also involved in this process. And then Van der 1995 proclaims that social cognition is a system with shared social cultural knowledge by members of a particular group, society, or culture. Van der defines power as ownership of a group. The dominant attitude of a group in other groups, as in the case of white groups with blacks. The second part is that access influences a discourse. Elite groups have greater stage space than minority groups, and also we can see the owners of a media more freely in accessing things that benefit them than those who do not own a media. The theory's purpose by Pandey present in a variety of social theories and models used in CDA, which uses the various ideological notions. Alright guys, we can conclude that Pandey's socio-cognitive approach attempts to bridge the gap between society and discourse. Working from a mental models approach, Pandey sees a discourse persists via long and short-term memory, shaping our perception and understanding. The approach of CDA Pandey adopts is based on understanding ideological structures and social relations of power embedded in discourse. Pandey claims that CDA should not limit itself to a study of the relationship between discourse and social structure, but that language use and discourse always presuppose the intervening mental models, goals, and general social representation, including knowledge, attitudes, ideologies, norms, and value of the language users. Thus, the parallelized and categorical structure of underlying ideologies also characterize social attitudes, which in turn influence personal mental models and opinions in certain circumstances. The result of the relation between the discourse and society not only provides a methodological basis for many discourse structures, but also explains how a discourse is involved in the reproduction of domination and resistance in society. Then the second one is about the Fairclough model of CDA. Fairclough model contributes to social and culture analysis. Therefore, he focused the analysis on how the language formed and is formed from social relation and a certain social context. Fairclough using sociocultural approaches in making meaning. Fairclough's system of discourse analysis has three dimensions, since discourse is simultaneous as a text, including spoken or written, and a visual image. A discourse practice a production, consumption, and distribution of the text, and a social culture practice. He believes that awareness is the first steps towards emancipation. Fairclough has focused on discourse and power, on discourse and social change, including globalization, neoliberalism, knowledge economy, and on media discourse. He takes a theoretical approach, usually examining relatively small extracts of the text in order to illustrate concepts such as order of discourse, intertextuality, hybridity, and voice. Fairclough's aim is the raising of critical consciousness concerning the ideological assumption embodied in language use in contemporary society, largely through an explanation of existing social convention, which are seen as outcomes of struggles for power. And then the third one is Van Leeuwen models of CDA. Van Leeuwen revealed that language is a reflection of ideology, so that by learning the language reflected in the text, ideology can be exposed. And then Theo Van Leeuwen's CDA model seeks to detect and examine how a group or person is marginalized in a discourse. This model generally shows how the parties and actors are presented in the news. There are two centers of attention, including exclusion and inclusion. Exclusion are the actor displayed or omitted in the news text. If so, how is the media doing it? Inclusion is about how the actor displayed and how is it portrayed in the news. Exclusion is divided into passivation, nominalization, and substitution of clauses. The inclusion process is divided into indifferentiation and differentiation, and then objectivization and abstraction, and then nomination and categorization, determination and indetermination, and assimilation and individualization. Alright, from Van Leeuwen models of CDA, we can conclude that Van Leeuwen approached the aspect of the actor. Van Leeuwen is influenced by his background in film and television and emphasized the overall semiotic nature of discourse, considering not just text but acoustic and visual elements of discourse, as well as material action. Further, it contains participants, actions, performance models, eligibility condition, presentation style, and so on, which constitutes social identities, object knowledge, situation, and the relationship between societies and the discourse. In the text analysis, it comes from people's way of thinking, perception, and opinion toward a concrete society. And then the last one is Wadah model of CDA. Like Fairclough and Van Dijk approaches, Wadah's discourse historical approach views discourse as a form of social practice. Thus, to understand and explain the object under investigation, one needs to integrate diverse theories and methods. Wadah stated that studies in CDA are multivarious, derived from quite different theoretical backgrounds, oriented towards different data and methodologies. One important tenet of CDA is that all discourses are historical and can therefore only be understood with reference to their context. This means that discourse is connected synchronically and diachronically with other communicative events which are happening at the same time or which have happened before. For Wadah, the notion of context is crucial for CDA, since this explicitly includes social, psychological, political, and ideological components. And diachronic and synchronic method of linguistic analysis. Diachronic or historical linguistic, it means that the study of language change and reconstruction of older stage of language, genetic relationship between languages. And then synchronic linguistics, it means that the study of language at a particular period of time. From this model, we can conclude that Ruth Wadah using discourse historical method in making meaning, and this approach views discourse as a form of social practice which needs to integrate diverse theories and methods such as ethnography, argumentation theory, rhetoric, and function system linguistics to understand and explain the object under investigation. This approach focuses on gender, language, and politics, prejudice, and discrimination. Alright guys, that's all about the definition and types of approaches in CDA. Thanks for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.